Everyone, welcome to a very interesting episode of Outlier Podcast. I have Ari with us today. Hi, Ari, how are you doing?
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure, Ari. Quick introduction. Ari is one of my dream guests, I would say. We just talk the same language, right? That's the reason we just gel so well. The first couple of minutes, we're like, let's talk data. Ari is the head evangelist of Databricks, a brand new role that has been created at Databricks to bring Ari out there and lead charge of evangelism. So he will talk about more what evangelism is and what he's doing at Databricks. But again, thank you, Ari, for taking your time out to, spend this half an hour with us. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's great to be here. So much going on in the world of data and AI, the world of business. What an exciting time in history.
Absolutely. I mean, there are a few claim to fames. I mean, there's a laundry list of that, but still, I mean, I won't talk about the awards that he has got. Otherwise, we'll just go on to that single thing in this podcast. Let's talk about, things he loves doing, right? So Ari is one of the very few individuals who almost pioneered sports analytics in the ecosystem, right? He was one of the first five individuals in the world, I would say, who did sports analytics, and now it has gone out of scale, right? Uh, he was one of the very first individuals who developed first mobile business software, right? Way before the iPhones and the Androids, also the Blackberries of the world, right? So he was a part of the revolution, uh, followed by what his passion is, going to net new market, meeting people across data, technology, and also understanding business problems because both of us we are focused towards solving business problems using data. So that's pretty much is about area. I didn't talk about the awards, the bunch of things that you've received or you keep on receiving, but I thought I'd bring a quick introduction in case if you want to add something, feel free to add.
That's been a great summary, and yeah, every maybe 4, 5, 6 years, there's like a major like advancement in the technology world.
Yeah.
Of course, the internet, mobile, you hit on, database, traditional, classical, where you can scale to just a couple billion records. When I worked with Oracle,
Yeah.
president of the Worldwide Oracle User Group, and now you're talking, trillions of records in a modern data stack, and the elephant in the room, so to speak. A couple years ago, Gen AI coming out, but it's just one talk track of many.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is a very interesting role slash designation you have is head evangelist, right? I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of days earlier. He understands what evangelism is, but I think the world wants to know from you, right? That what is evangelism at Databricks? What do you do out there?
Yeah, it's a newish term that now a lot of larger tech companies have, and it's really a couple things. The main thing is to just promote and advocate, in my case, for data and AI. And yes, Databricks, although I'm not in a sales perspective, since that turns a lot of people off, but in like a strategic, almost management consultant, I travel all over the world, almost every continent, talking to customers, partners, non-customers, practitioners, influencers, and just seeing what's happening now that's realistic, what's coming down in the next couple months and into the future, and then relay it to every subsequent conversation for are the possible. So that's the one thing is being a conversationalist and a good listener, but then like tactically presenting at conferences, doing keynotes, helping create content, co-authored a couple of dummies books, and social media even is big. You could do a social media post and get 50,000 views and do spend a month writing a blog and only getting 500. So social media in the right way is good. Making videos. We have our large conference coming up, and I'm the producer and co-host of our live show for people who do
Mhm.
streaming. So like 75,000 registrants last year.
Wow.
So yeah, a mix of speaking, content, working with partners, customers, internal people, Bricksters, bringing ideas back to the product team. Since we love being innovative and real world pains and successes should be avoided and duplicated. So bring that back to the product team.
I understand. I mean, that's a very interesting role, being, but for lack of better words, is being like the eyes and ears of Databricks, right? Talking to customers, talking to non-customers, influencers, getting the recent trends. I mean, you're at the cusp of marrying what traditional data is vis-a-vis how it has progressed across the years, right? So this is, I think it's a very exciting role that you are in right now, Eddie. I would say you're amazingly lucky, right? So that's amazing. Uh, Now, obviously, both of us travel almost 70%. Difference is that, man, you're crazy. You travel across continents, right? I limit myself to North America. I just travel across a country. So it's not easy. I mean, both of us don't travel so hard, right? Long travels, long flights. So 24 hours is not enough. I'm sure. It's not enough for me. I'm definitely it's not enough for you for sure, right? So the question is, what keeps you going, Ari? I mean, you've got a bunch of things that you're doing right now.
Yeah, well, first of all, yeah, it's I the number of requests, like just our own internal event team, have like over 50 like pretty decent sized events that we run, and then we have
Mhm,
meetups, 50 per year, and then we have
mhm,
a couple hundred meetups per
mhm,
year.
mhm.
That alone would keep me busy, but part of my impetus is to go to non-Databricks events where people may have heard of us, maybe think, oh, that's a Spark company from 10 years ago, just to educate a little bit more on that like educational non-sales approach. So you're talking, I could easily go to a different country every single day and still would fall behind. But what drives me is just, so I went to Caltech, the California Institute of Technology,
Yep.
and that, like other like-minded schools and our conversations before this podcast, you're like-minded as well. People are naturally curious. They love innovation. For me, when I love being on the cusp where it's not fully mainstream, but you're making a market. And so it's not too far in the future that once you talk about an idea, you want people to go back to the office or their home, put their hands on the keyboard, and they can actually do something. There are more forward looking things that may be a bit much for me. I'm curious to know what's happening in space exploration and quantum and so on, singularity, but that's not
Mhm,
where I want to get involved in my day to day. So being
mhm.
on the that leading edge, if it's a billion people are doing something, uh, then at that point I probably am like pretty much solved. I don't like dealing with that. I like pushing the envelope a little bit more. So yeah, being on with Databricks, we have an amazing, awesome, super exciting team of
Mhm.
people that you get to work with,
I'm
and the
sure.
partners too. The partners are amazing forefront as well.
Absolutely. I think, the hinted upon is, I term it as co-innovation, right? I mean, more like bringing data bricks, bringing partners, because everyone has their niche and skill sets, right? Bringing best of both the worlds, business, data. And that's the way how we solve problem. I mean, both of us date to the time when we did linear regression, right?
Right.
And we didn't talk about generative AI. So I think that's what people lose at times, in my 2 cents, is basics, right? That's where co-innovation works very well. That's great, right? I want to talk about your journey, Ari. I mean, I'm really impressed with your journey, uh, how you've progressed across, right? From Caltech right now to being a head evangelist at Databricks. It's been a long journey. Talk about your journey. What are the kings? What are the high points, low points? Because definitely it's an inspirational journey, and people would love to know more about.
Yeah, well, the high and low points are always intertwined. So, like starting in sports, if you've seen the movie Moneyball, it was about how you could, yeah, close to your heart. People, some people got it that data or information can
Yeah.
help you drive decisions, which really applies to every single industry out there. So that was the fun part. You get things working, and it was like magic. We could predict uh, behavior of our opponents, like human behavior, take advantage of that to win a ton more games every single season. The downsides for that is you have naysayers everywhere. So people who like that's the way we've been doing it 100 years, which sometimes is fine. It's fine if there's a reason to do something 100 years. But if there's something you can uncover that helps you do something not just incrementally better, but fundamentally better, the frustration is when people don't even want to meet with you to see what it is they're turning down. They just say, no, you're wrong. I'm like, but I didn't even say what it is. So, but that's, even with Gen AI now, you have, in some use cases that are amazing and some, they're not perfect yet. So I like building the strengths, but, every time there's a change, people are resistant. Some the resistance is worthy, but
It's
others
not.
it's irrational. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I feel the same thing every day. So what I can wrap around AI at your journey, always a work in progress, right? You're always working in progress. You're always uh, exploring uncharted territories. You're always exploring innovation about what next big. You've been doing it for almost 30 years right now, right? It's not new. Uh, let's dovetail into something which you almost pioneered, sports analytics, right? Sports analytics, I mean, it's been like what, almost 15.5 billion market,
Mm-hmm.
right? By 2030, that's what we
Mm-hmm.
look at right now. And you're literally one of the top five or the first five humans on the earth, literally. I mean, you should do an article, right? The first five Homo sapiens who understood what sports analytics was. And what you talked about Moneyball, I mean, literally, this reminds me exactly of that moment. The Oakland is winning because of analytics. There was a geeky guy sitting out of uh, the club, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's been asked, which school did you go to? And I went to Yale, and I studied economics. Like, what is an economist doing in a
Right.
club, right? And when he understands what he does, it changes a complete ball game altogether, right? So, how do you think as sports analytics from the era of Moneyball, looking into almost a black and white screen, looking into probabilities, looking into confidence intervals of every decision, to now almost real time, be it NASCAR, be it F1, if you look at the way how sports analytics has evolved, it's phenomenal, right? Every single sports uses analytics, real-time analytics for decision, right? So how do you think has the evolution of sports analytics happened? I mean, it's like hearing from the OG of sports analytics, right?
Yeah.
So OG, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, and I love your analogy, bringing it all the way up to Formula One. So one thing I didn't mention is before Databricks, I spent a couple years traveling the world, working with McLaren Formula One, like helping with race strategy, aerodynamics, computer vision, predicting weather more accurately,
Mhm.
things of that nature. And speaking of real time, which is something every industry could use, so there are applications beyond sports. But how do you take sensors, hundreds per car, 1,000 times a second, have a team of people analyzing it real time, a team of hundreds of people at McLaren alone,
Mhm.
re, resulting in just simple recommendations. So in the real world, a human, such as a driver, can
Mhm.
make a change, or the pit people could change tires. So similarly, imagine you're a financial company and you're getting, you know, billions of transactions every day or every month. How do you detect real time where there's fraud? You're a video game maker. How do you detect toxicity? People, little kids cursing into the microphone as they play Among Us. How do you do that real time? How do you match consumers and buyers in real time effectively at scale? So that's like, sports is huge like that, and that's one thing. The other is the democratization play. You have vast amounts of data, structured and unstructured, but then you also have non-technical people. In business, it could be maybe a business analyst or a line of business person. And in sports, it could be the athlete or the general manager. So that Moneyball example of why do you need an economist, one of the best use cases when a general manager, I'm
Yeah.
going into a team and they be resistant, the best use case would be to say, here's how much I recommend paying, how many dollars for a player per year. What is the maximum you would pay before you walk away? And like, what's the minimum you would go to
Yeah.
in there? And they would love that. They're like, I don't know how you did that. I don't
But
really care, but it helps me. Since they're the player's not economics, an agent might be, but general manager generally don't have economics degrees. So they would love that use case. And again, that's applicable every industry. It's how do you use vast amounts of data and democratize it so non-technical people could benefit. And then how do you elevate the technical people? You know, we were talking regression and time series beforehand, but how can you automate at least the boring, repetitive, easy parts of the machine learning, data engineering, so even the technical people get elevated? And that all ties back to the sports origin story.
I think, when people talk about, I mean, a few years back, people talked about that AI can replace human agents. Now people are talking about, can AI replace data scientists? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, maybe 30% of it, but still, I mean, AI is again, I mean, for the lack of better words, I hate using the word AI, as you know,
Right.
because of obvious reasons, right? Let's not talk about again AI, but still, quote unquote AI, whatever you call it, I don't know, maybe applied intelligence or actual
Mm-hmm.
intelligence, something, right? I don't know what do I talk about AI. But yes, I strongly believe that we data scientists, right? We used to spend days and months writing basic codes, writing basic for loops, right? Writing basic loops
Mm-hmm.
for recursive iteration, right? Basic for again ensemble of multiple models, getting the best model. We're talking about the time series code that I wrote, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a code of maybe a block code of around 1,000 lines with 20 different type of forecasting algorithms that can be automated. That I mean, at least the basics of machine learning can be automated. Maybe data scientists can spend much more time understanding business and how to apply and not to the grunt work because that's already taken care of. I mean, we used to, I mean, I was someone who used to optimize hyperparameters. I used to do
Right.
hyperparameter tuning myself, moving the buttons up and down like, oh, I mean, that was a nightmare, right? I mean, I just remember before I had to deliver models at Accenture, it was nightmare. We used to
Mm-hmm.
tune hyperparameters at least 200 combinations. Which one works, no one knows, right? But those things can be eliminated for sure. And I'm so happy that, our lives are becoming much easier, right? For that. So following up on that, right? I mean, I want to talk about evolution of analytics or evolution of data.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very common example that I take year 2015, I think. Yeah, 2015, I was fresh out of my engineering college, computer engineer. I was trying to do, I think, dependency parsing, right? Text analytics. We were struggling then to do POS tagging perfectly because POS tagging was a thing in 2015. We're still struggling with that. I was in Stanford's NLP parser, an open source
Oh,
to do
sweet.
parsing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure both of us have used that, right? And Stanford NLP parser was something very interesting. Walking from Stanford NLP parser, right? Those days to now, when you see actual LLMs being trained and used for actual use cases, right? How do you think has the evolution of analytics from, I would say, BI to analytics to
Yes.
data, I mean, classical analytics to data science to classical AI to generative AI? How has the evolution happened across time in your opinion?
Yeah, great question. And I love talking about this. I
Both
co-authored
of them.
Data Intelligence for Dummies, which is freely available, not making a plug as an ebook download, but it's really the history. I don't know, 15 years ago, you'd have traditional databases. I was president of the Oracle user group, which was very focused on structured data, which was conducive to like relational database, transactional database, and data warehouse. So that's like the BI part that you mentioned, business intelligence. How do you look at structured meaning, numbers, some categories, maybe date fields, for example, a log of sales, and find out what were our sales by region. That was business intelligence. Traditional databases scale to maybe a couple billion, couple tens of billions of records. And then not long after that, so like maybe 10 years ago, the data lakes popped up. And that was like if you ever use OneDrive or Dropbox, where your laptop files, you have volumes where you put videos, Word docs, PDFs, anything like that in there. Unstructured data, SQL, structured query language, didn't really work on it. SQL only worked asking questions of structured data. So then you have data lake. So you have two separate entities, two
Yep.
different types of questions.
Yep.
And lo and behold, the
Yep.
Lakehouse, which is a
Yep.
funny name, data warehouse, data lake, where you have one
Lakehouse.
unified environment. And that opened
Yep.
up the whole world. It was actually, we had an analyst firm saying this is hogwash, like this doesn't make any sense at all. Fast forward now, whether it's Databricks or many other lake houses are out there, about 80% of all companies are on a lake house of one format or another. And that solves like tons of problems. That kept us really good until about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, with our favorite word, Gen AI, but at least LLMs coming out. But LLMs do have some very practical usage in the history of business intelligence to now, I call it AI BI. It's where you use AI
On
to
BI.
help BI questions. So the
I love the
situation
word.
is people just want to talk to the data as opposed to using Tableau, Power BI, which are all very important. But to just make a dashboard, sometimes you just want to get in, have a question, and not ask your business reporting department 2 months from now, you'll get in the line to have simple answer. So you want to ask, converse with your data, but you also want to do it on your own data. If you use a generative large language model that's trained on Taylor Swift lyrics and Bollywood. I saw your profile earlier. It's good for general, but not on your own data that you probably want private. You want to
Yeah.
look in your Salesforce data, your Slack messages, your HR data, and fully governed. It knows the context, the language of your industry. So that's kind of where the history is now. This more data intelligence. How can you search through information? I was in Austin this week
Mm-hmm.
and met a company that has over a million, with an M, a
Mm-hmm.
million column names through all their tables. So it could be sales underscore 3, sales underscore NE, and they have people, they're tagging 50 columns a day by hand. They say it's going to take 17 years to do it all by hand. But you could use now, one brilliant use of Gen AI is look at your data, how it's, the metadata and the data, and just come up with this column contains sales for products in New England. That's an incredible improvement. So just
Absolutely.
talking with your data, and it's your data and it's seamless. And then, the dashboard people can make more complex, long-term, super applications.
So
That's where
I
they
think
elevate.
this example that you talked about, right? Millions of columns with, I would say, lack of data dictionary. You want a data
Right.
dictionary, so how do you do it? How can you use metadata for identification? That's a fantastic use case for Gen AI. I mean, it's sheer wastage of time of a data annotator or even an analyst to talk about what exactly this column is by analyzing and doing cuts and slices, doing group bys, right? It's such a waste of time. So this is one of the, I mean, that's the reason I'm very bullish about the way how we are, going forward. And I believe, that data scientists should have a separate nation for themselves. That we are
Right.
data scientists and we should have a separate nation. Right? So this is the future. I mean, I feel extremely blessed that I took up this profession 10 years back as data science. I mean, I didn't know it, right? I mean, I was an analyst fresh out of my school. Someone put me into doing analytics. That's all. But this is just amazing the way how things have changed right now. Coming back to again Databricks right now. Databricks is considered to be one of the most innovative technology companies, software companies nowadays. Huge, huge market cap, right? So, what do you define innovation at Databricks? What is that is most innovating at Databricks right now?
Yeah, it's well, the first of all, the concept that we mentioned, AIBI Genie, that's the term we have in AIBI dashboards. It's like leveraging AI in a helpful way for everyone that's connected to Databricks. So
Mhm.
that example is for like the business users that just want to talk to the data or make dashboards. But
Mhm.
we also use data intelligence to help, for example, uh, people that write Python in notebooks. Like you see this everywhere, GitHub Copilots, Microsoft Copilots, having Copilot, but it's trained on what we call Unity Catalog. So it's trained on your metadata. So just like what you're saying, if you use ChatGPT to write a code, it doesn't know MDM, your master data management. But if you have the Copilot in the same ecosystem and you're a
Okay.
coder,
Yep.
and you want to know where are my SKUs? Like
Yeah.
if you're a retailer, Databricks Unity Catalog in our case knows like here's the 75 tables and columns that are candidates for it. And as a programmer, I see your frustration of your experience. A lot of your time was trying to figure out where is this data? Is
Oh
this
yes.
data clean? Uh, and that's where another innovation's coming in. But then agentic systems is really a whole marketplace trend. It's like how can you make specific like mini AI applications that string together. One might be good at predicting weather, one might be good at predicting interest rates, one might be good at translating one language to another might be to see if a document has a human signature on it or not. And so you string them together to solve a more complex question. And that's agentic systems. That's a big one. But yeah, innovations, it's really funny. Like a year ago, when LLMs were coming out, it used to be you're only two or three companies that could make a foundational model in the world. That was a big deal,
Yep.
not a big need for it, but we did come up with our own foundational model
Mhm.
that as the joke is, it was the best model performing in the world, but then 2 weeks later, someone better came out. And then a month later, someone better than that came out. And every month, something new and better is coming out. But it was good, and then DeepSeek and being able to understand the thought process behind
Yeah.
it, and being able to do things, twice as fast, every couple of quarters, bringing prices down. So things are innovating so quickly. But that being said, uh, everyone listening who's still listening, you really need to keep your underlying data effective. Just having like eliminating silos, making it easy and democratized, so that just have like all your data either federated or being able to be accessed. Since the better the cleaner the data, then
Yep.
generally the better the insights. Whether it's
Mhm.
just a math formula, whether
Yep.
it's predictive analytics
Mhm.
like regression, forecasting, classification, or more of the newer Gen AI, the better your data, the generally the better the insights and recommendations are.
Absolutely. I think this was a very well-rounded answer about innovation. Absolutely. And I mean, we talked about structured and unstructured data. I mean, this still reminds me of another incident. So I mean, I was a database guy. That's at the initial days. I used to write long, thousands of lines of SQL queries. Right? Then suddenly came was no SQL, the MongoDBs of the world,
Mm-hmm.
the Cassandras of the world. Right? Now that just become table stakes. Right? Anything you do is like it has to be scalable. It has to be horizontal, vertical, not horizontal. Now my question is, you have now having uh, structured and unstructured data talk to each other. It's becoming increasingly important. I mean, gone are the days of where we used to think that how do you parse data from social media? How do you consume? Those are
Hmm.
history now, right? Those uh, like 10 years back, right? So how do you think would be the future of effectively using structured and unstructured data together for better decisioning? Not only better decisioning, but for insights, right? And we need real-time
Yeah.
insights. I mean, you cannot have lagged insights that's that 7 day old. No, you need to have something real, customized, personalized, and actionable. So how do you think is the ecosystem moving towards that?
Yeah, yeah, and structured, unstructured, and I'd also add real-time streaming since you
Yeah,
mentioned the
I talked
internet
about
and
exactly
social
that.
media,
That's
JSON
basic.
formats, Internet of Things, semi-structured, but just principally, getting outside of technology, the more types of data you have, in theory, you're either going to get a more accurate insight, or it should be the same. Generally, you feed it more data. If you have enough variety and volume, won't get worse.
No.
But the reason behind that is, the world's complex. There's human behavior. You're dealing with humans in it.
Yeah.
And so one example I did with baseball, a great example, where I just did a predictive model with
Hmm.
structured data, like
Hmm.
what were the results, and it had a prediction, and
Hmm.
it worked, and it was good. It was better than nothing. And then I
Hmm.
added 300 sources of data, like
Hmm.
biomechanics, how quick are their wrists moving, what their speed is, 300 new variables, and the end result was way, way more accurate.
Hmm.
And if you're dealing outside of sports, if you are dealing with retail or sales or marketing, you're dealing with potential driving distances,
Hmm.
weather that
Yeah.
might affect ice cream sales,
Yeah.
packaging,
Hmm.
loyalty to a brand. These are like more unstructured pieces of
Yep.
information. And
Yep.
then where things are happening, which is super exciting, is taking unstructured data and engineering new features, engineering new insights. So,
Yep.
like, you take a YouTube video and it could
Yep.
say what percent of time was they're speaking, what language was it, what percent of time was it a male versus a female, uh, whatever it is, was the tone of the word angry or harsh. But so people are already seeing on Zoom and Google Meets like these AI summaries of the meeting that are pretty amazing and they're helpful. But that is going to keep going and going, and getting better and better. But those are all different use cases of why you'd want to harmonize structured and unstructured. Pretty much everything:
Exactly.
cybersecurity, uh,
Everything.
retail, everything, fraud detection,
Yep.
toxicity detection. Yeah.
And out of all things talked about, creating features out of out of YouTube video, vis-a-vis maybe a few years back, we were just talking about creating features out of existing variables from maybe basic demographics, right? Someone's age. We were maybe
Right.
creating categorical variables. Okay, so for my guest, this podcast is really technical, right? So sorry about that. We're just geeking over. So few years back, it was like, creating categorical variables from numeric variables, creating buckets out of it, right? Those are features. Now we're talking about creating features from a YouTube shot or a YouTube video.
Mm-hmm.
In my 2 cents, the first principles thinking is always there. That's what first principles thinking is. I mean, getting more insights, more features out of existing data. The structure may change, the type may change, but still the thinking is same, right? I mean, do you agree to that? That basic first principles will always be there while solving a problem using data.
100%. And I'm glad you said that. Um, since we there's digital world and the real world too,
Yeah.
and first principles is a great philosophy or exercise to go through.
Great. Now, I mean, I want to be respectful of your time, so I want to ask one last parting question. I mean, I'm sure we'll have multiple episodes together, but
Mm-hmm.
parting question of my first episode, right? One is, now we're talking about, right, that just having a group of analysts do dashboarding for you, that might not be the most efficient use of your time right now, right? Things have changed, things are further along. Now, conversational AI or let's talk about conversational BI. How can
Mm-hmm.
you use natural language to query information out of an existing structured or unstructured data, right? that is gradually becoming table stakes. If not now, in the next
Hmm.
couple of years, it will be definitely table stakes. I won't have any analysts in my team who will develop dashboards. They might develop dashboards, but they need to have good capabilities of querying the base data with natural language and make it as efficient as possible. Where do you think is conversational BI as a whole ecosystem, right, is moving forward to?
Yeah, great question. And every conference I go to, this is like one of the top like conversations that we get. Just want to talk to the data, conversational AI. Like one great example of a success was Ford Direct. It's a subsidiary of the Ford car company. They have a ton of dealers and they use like the first of all, the best thing is they don't like advertise AI. They like don't need to advertise it. So it's like table stakes. People just ask questions on their phone or on this application. You're a dealer, like a dealer meaning you're a partner of Ford and you have a physical, car dealership that you're selling cars. You just want to know either proactively, you want to ask a question, how's this inventory coming or when are new car parts coming? That's pulling from the dealer. But the next step is pushing to the dealers. So, for example, making a
Yeah,
3-slide PowerPoint
yeah,
saying, here's the customers you should be calling back. They might
mhm,
be churning. So like proactively pushing to salespeople, to the
yeah,
partner people. But yeah, every single company is like trying to ask, how can we make it? And it's so easy, at least to make a decent chatbot, that I'm making a video showing how you could do it in under 60 seconds. If you already have the data, how
yeah,
can you make like a human chatbot in
mhm,
under a minute? It's
mhm.
really not hard.
Absolutely. So, Ari, again, I want to be respectful of your time. This was one of the episodes that reminded me of my days 10 years back when I started as a data scientist. It's like, heart to a conversation of what is actual, what is BS. I just loved it, Ari. And again, I appreciate your time today. Looking forward to have more such conversations. Again, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Anurag. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.